because we are attending this conference as a team, not just Kamudu for Nyasaland, Kenneth for Northern Rhodesia, Joshua for Southern Rhodesia. We are acting as a team.
And what will happen if you feel these conditions are not being met?
I can't tell you that. Make your own conclusion.
Well, will you walk out of the talks as a team?
Once one of us walks out, the whole of us walk out. The three of us walk out. Not only that, there are chiefs outside.
How long are you prepared to wait, Dr. Banda, to see if your conditions are met at the conference?
Well, we set a time limit, but we're not going to tell you that. We'll tell the British government that.
So this video that I have today is an oldie but a goodie. It shows the three titans of independence and nationalism fighting in those early days. That is Dr. Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia, who later on became the long-serving president of Zambia, Dr. Hastings Banda of Malawi, who later on became the longest-serving president of Malawi, and Joshua Mkomo. He made it to be the vice president of Zimbabwe from 1990 to 1999. This is a great video which highlights the disdain that the leaders had for the Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland. So my lingering question has always been, did the African leaders drop the ball here? Let me play the rest of the video.
Dr. Banda, you are speaking for the three, I believe. On what basis are you going to this conference?
On the basis that no subject is excluded that is of interest to us. For example, secession. Secession must be on the agenda, otherwise I am not attending. And if I am not attending, Kenneth to my right, Joshua to my left are not attending, and so are all our chiefs. 2, the discussion on the constitutions of Southern Rhodesia and Northern Rhodesia must take place now. And if these do not take place now, we are not attending, because we are attending this conference as a team, not just Kamudu for Nyasaland, Kenneth for Northern Rhodesia, Joshua for Southern Rhodesia. We are acting as a team.
And what will happen if you feel these conditions are not being met?
I can't tell you that. Make your own conclusion.
Well, will you walk out of the talks as a team?
Once one of us walks out, the whole of us walk out. The three of us walk out. Not only that, there are chiefs outside.
How long are you prepared to wait, Dr. Banda, to see if your conditions are met at the conference?
Well, we set a time limit, but we're not going to tell you that. We'll tell the British government that. And did you ask us that?
Well, I'd like to hear you say it again, Dr. Banda.
Well, you always know. Everybody knows what we intend to get out of it. Secession and constitution for each of the territory that would result in a government, a representative government, a government by the majority, rather of the majority, by the majority, in the interest of all. Not government by a few white men who claim to be civilized and educated.
Do you feel that the white delegates to the conference aren't civilized and educated?
They say they are, but that does not give them the right to exclude us from the governments of our own respective countries.
But you are being included in the government of your country very soon.
That's not enough. We had to struggle for that. For many, many years, they have shut us down like dogs, imprisoned us. Many of our colleagues are in prison now simply because we were asking the right to have our own representation in the Legislative Council and the Parliament. Now I want to be quite blunt and clear, no mincing words about that. We trust MacLeod, and it's only because we trust MacLeod that we are here. Otherwise we would not have been here.
And you want the breakup of this federation now?
No question about it.
The three leaders here were demanding the independence and nationalization of the three nations of present-day Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. Unfortunately, this show of unity was an exception, or the exception rather than the norm at the time, which brings me to this question. Did the leaders at any time ever entertain the idea of leaving the federation as is and take the route of federal governance so that Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi remain one country? If not, why? So a quick visit to history. The Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland, which was also called the Central African Federation, CAF, was a short-lived political entity in Southern Africa that existed from 1953 to 1963. So exactly 10 years. Think about it. 10 years. We were one country, people. We were one country. So as I mentioned, it comprised of these three territories: Southern Rhodesia, Northern Rhodesia, and Nyasaland. The following point is very important to this conversation. The federation was established with the aim of promoting economic development and regional cooperation. Obviously, the federation was established by the colonizers. But in this instance, there was no sinister intentions by the whites here. It was from a purely economic point of view, which I must agree that it made a lot of sense. But it obviously and ultimately failed due to political tensions and nationalist movements within the constituent territories. The federation was dissolved in 1963, and the three territories went on to gain independence as separate nations, and we've never come together since. Imagine that. If we were together, we would have one football team, one netball team, one basketball team. We'll just dominate. Hence, today we have Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. I do remember that Dr. Banda absolutely hated the federation. He loved it. He could not stand it. He called it all sorts of names, including stupid federation and others. It stank. And this is up until his death in 1996. And he died a very old man. 1996, I think he was over 100 years old. But my question is, why did he hate it so much? Was that the idea? Why did he hate the idea of having these three countries together? With hindsight, though, forget the emotions and passion for revolution and politics or decolonization or whatever it is. Put on an economic hat for a second. The economic power of a federation, if kept together, would have been massive. Just imagine there would be free movement of people and trade between these three states, which would have made so much economic sense. In fact, don't take my word for it. The colonial federation proven this to be true. During the period of the Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland, the combined gross domestic product (GDP) of the territories experienced significant growth, with the first year of the federation seeing a GDP of 350 million, increasing to nearly 450 million within a couple of years. So that's an insane increase. And those numbers, you bear in mind that we're talking about the 1950s. So imagine those figures in 2000 and in 2024. That's crazy. However, it's important to note that the majority of this economic wealth was concentrated in Southern Rhodesia. So this is where our Zimbabwean colleagues have the bragging rights. Zimbabwe, at that time, or Southern Rhodesia, was more developed infrastructure-wise, and also the white settlers were there in a huge population. So that's the caveat with this concept, that there was a mismatch of the economies. But I do think that federations are never perfect. There are always other states who contribute more due to the natural resources and the like. But the federal government, I'm sure, would have had mechanisms in place to try to balance the mismatch. Malawi, they would have, now Malawi has got minerals and all that. They've got the lake, and Zambia has a lot of things going for it. Zimbabwe, we know what's happening in Zimbabwe. So I think there would have been, some sort of equalization of these states. Now, the biggest challenge I can see would have been with leadership. They were completely different ideologically. Dr. Banda of Malawi was more of a pragmatist who was leaning towards the West, and whereas Presidents Kaunda and Mugabe were more aligned with the East. So there could have been a problem. Is this the reason why Dr. Banda hated the Federation so much? Because he absolutely hated communism as well. At a people's level, there are a multitude of Malawians who live in Zambia and Zimbabwe, and there are also some Zimbabweans in Zambia and Zambians in Zimbabwe. So there is a proven decent sample that we could have lived together in harmony. So anyway, what do you think of the Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland? Should we have kept it, or leaders were right to get rid of it? So leave your comments below, and I'll see you in my next video.